When the letter came through the post, I was like, me? Like, little old me? Really? Surely not. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm filming in a slightly different position today. I actually got a new tripod. Well, I say new, it's not new. My dad used to own this tripod and he gave it to me now that I'm filming videos for YouTube, so big shout out to him, big thank you. But that does mean I can film wherever I want in my room now because I'm not reliant upon the windowsill or like the ledge to like balance a bunch of books on and like prop my camera on it. I can move wherever I want with the tripod. So I'm trying over here today because I did notice in my other videos, even though the natural light was great, it did make the background behind me look really dark. So I don't know if this is just like a brighter, warmer, nicer background. I don't know, let me know in the comments below what you think. Anyway, back to this video. So this video is what I learned from Cambridge, or how did Cambridge change me, or you know, what did Cambridge teach me as a person kind of video. I haven't fully decided on the title yet, so I suppose that'll come once I've had this little ramble and then put together the video and the thumbnail. Maybe I'll ask you guys for some better name suggestions. But for now, I think it's going to be, how did Cambridge University change me? Now, this is just my personal experience, and a lot of it does rely on who I am as a person, or who I was as a person before I joined Cambridge. But I think a lot of people might have changed in a similar way, and change isn't bad. Like, when you go to university, you're growing up and you're becoming a whole new person and learning new things, meeting new people, and your beliefs will change, the people you're surrounded with change, so naturally so do you too. So this isn't like a how did Cambridge change me, I became this really awful person. I hope I didn't become a really awful person. I like to think that Cambridge definitely changed me for the better. So yeah, enjoy the video. So I'd like to start by saying my first point is about my own confidence in myself and my ability. You might have heard me say on my channel before that I've really lacked confidence. I felt like I had serious imposter syndrome while I was at Cambridge. I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. All through school, I knew that I was academic and I knew my grades were pretty good, but unless I had that factual evidence of like the A's and the A stars to prove I was doing well, I would never believe in myself. And I really relied on like positive teacher feedback and things. So I would never say I've been entirely confident in myself as a person or my academic ability. And I definitely say since going to Cambridge, I've become a lot more confident. Obviously I had to get through that barrier first of the imposter syndrome, but I'd say once I overcame that, I definitely did start to believe in myself. Obviously through my first year at university, I was really worried I didn't deserve to be there. They'd picked the wrong person. Why me? I'm not that clever. These guys use way bigger words than me. They know about authors I've never even heard of. And after my first year exams, I actually did really well. I got a first. I received what they call the Jesus College Prize for English, which meant that my professors had nominated me as having an outstanding achievement or obtaining the best grades in my first year English exams in my college. So that really gave me the confidence boost that I needed, because when the letter came through the post, I was like, me? Like, little old me? Really? Surely not. And I think I needed that to give me the boost to go forwards in my second and third years, especially given how much I'd struggled and how much hard work I put into my first year. I definitely needed the results and the rewards to show me that all of the hard work was paying off and I really did deserve to be there. But this confidence didn't just apply to my academic ability, but I definitely think I became more confident as an adult. I wouldn't say I was shy before university, but I definitely wouldn't put myself in situations that would make me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like, you know, silly things like I didn't like getting on public transport. I didn't like making phone calls. I didn't like making plans because I got quite anxious about making plans and having to, you know, get the right times and make sure I got the right transport, got to the right location, going places I'd never been for. That all made me nervous. And I think going to university, and especially Cambridge, where you're sort of really in the deep end on your own for the first time in life without your parents, I definitely gained the confidence to do all of these adult things on my own. And I think coming away from Cambridge, I am definitely more adult now. I'm more decisive. I can make better decisions without the need for somebody else to hold my hand or to push me in a certain direction. So I think Cambridge definitely made me more headstrong and confident in that sense as well. So the next way that Cambridge changed me is I'd say I definitely became more resilient. Now, I have always been hardworking, and if any of you know me in person or you've been following my channel, that might come across in my videos that I was definitely a hard worker and very, very organized. I like to push myself to the highest standard, to achieve the best, put a lot of pressure on myself, but the pressure obviously at Cambridge wasn't just coming from me, but from the university itself. Not that my professors were putting pressure on me to do well, but when you're in such an academic environment, it is quite competitive, and you know you're surrounded by the best of the best. You're doing like essay upon essay and reading and reading and reading and attending loads of lectures and loads of seminars, and you're writing a dissertation and you're revising for exams all at once, and it is just a real big hot pot of stress at Cambridge. And I think it definitely made me more resilient. And I think I learned to handle that stress a lot better. I think in the past I had some unhealthy coping mechanisms for dealing with stress, like pushing myself more and more and more, and being like, oh, to manage this stress you just need to keep working and get through your tick list of to-do things, and once you're done then you'll be relaxed. But Cambridge made me realise the to-do list never really ends. Once you've gotten through that list, there's always more you can be adding to the list. There's always more reading you can be doing, more writing you can be doing. Once you've finished your weekly assignments, you can get onto revising for exams that are coming up. So it just didn't stop. So Cambridge definitely taught me to be more resilient, and part of that wasn't pushing myself to the absolute breaking point. It was actually saying, take a step back, give yourself time to breathe, take a break. And I think a lot of you might need to hear this. If you're like me, please don't push and push and push. I think the best way to cope with that kind of pressure is to be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, and give yourself the breaks you need. So I think that was definitely something, moving from school to uni and undergoing Cambridge and the intense process of it all. I came away from Cambridge a lot stronger and a lot more loving of myself, and willing to give myself the time I needed, and more accepting that when it does get hard and too much and I need to take a step back, like, that's okay. And pushing yourself to the absolute limits isn't the best way to achieve the best results from yourself. I think on the back of that as well, I actually learned how to take criticism a lot better and learned how to defend myself a lot better. Both in my personal life and in my academic life, I'd say. I learned to have a stronger opinion. I learned to express that opinion more. I became better at writing, better at speaking, articulating myself. When people said things I didn't agree with, I learned to have a voice and not just let people say these things. Sometimes you're in situations where someone might say something that makes you really uncomfortable. They might say something you disagree with, and in the past I think I was definitely happy to sit back and let people treat me like that, or say those things I didn't agree with and go quiet and maybe not stand up for my own beliefs, or stand up for people around me as well. Obviously negative opinions aren't always directed towards you, but that doesn't mean that you can't step in to defend other people as well. So I think at Cambridge University there was definitely a culture where you could express yourself and debate, and I definitely learned to come in and defend my own opinions and speak up. And you know, you're at a place where there are lots of different people from lots of different social backgrounds, class backgrounds, economic backgrounds, cultures, countries. Like, it's a whole mix of different people, so you're bound to meet people that you disagree with. And that's an important part of life, and you'll get that anywhere. But I think in a safe environment like university, where you are free to debate and express opinions and explore and learn and read and become more educated, this was a really great time for me to read about big, actual, real life topics that you will come across in life, in the news, in the media. And what better place to discuss them than at university? And, you know, as long as you're respectful and you're mindful of what you say, then this is a great place to test the waters and work out what you actually believe in. I'd also like to add that this was a really great place to stop talking and listen. It's really important to listen to what other people who have different life experiences have to say, because you haven't experienced everything and you can't experience everything. So it was really great to meet people from lots of different backgrounds that could share their experiences. I'd also say being at Cambridge, I became more detail oriented, and again, I think this is to do with my degree and my teaching. But doing English, I was definitely taught to focus both on the bigger picture but also on the really, really tiny details. So now in my job, when I'm reading things, I can be like, that's grammatically incorrect, that word just doesn't fit, it doesn't seem right. Or when I'm trying to articulate myself, I'm very, very careful and cautious about the words I do use. Next up, Cambridge taught me it's really okay to make mistakes. This is the perfect environment to make mistakes and learn from them, to test ideas, and sometimes ideas don't work and you need to go back to the drawing board. I think I've always been a perfectionist to the point where it's actually really difficult to work for me sometimes because I can't start unless I know I'm going to get something perfect on paper first time, and that's just not realistic. In the real world, you know, you need to try new ideas and it's about trial and error and working out what works best, and that's definitely something you'll come to learn in the working world as well. And I think I'm really glad that Cambridge changed me in that respect. I'm still a perfectionist. I still like to do things right first time. I still do find it difficult when I don't pick up things quickly or straight away, and I might not enjoy things that I can't learn really quickly. But I would say that Cambridge definitely taught me it's okay to make mistakes, and actually it's good to make mistakes because you can learn from them. And that's definitely something I've talked about in job interviews before as well, where I've, you know, done something and then learned from it and rectified that mistake and gone on to flourish afterwards because of it. And I think this was definitely something I learned when I was in societies and I'd like maybe organised an event and it didn't go off the way I planned it to, or when I was writing my dissertation and I picked a topic and the research just didn't really pull through for me and I didn't discover anything interesting and I had to sort of change route and look into something else instead. And I think I'm so grateful for Cambridge for giving me that environment where I could test these ideas out. And I'm glad that my first 2 years, the exams didn't count towards my final grade because it meant that I had a full 2 years just to explore with no real repercussions. And it wasn't until final year that I really needed to say, this is what I want to study, this is what I want to look at, and really nail it down. So I think those first 2 years were really formative and like pushing me to explore new ideas and step outside of my comfort zone. Now, a couple of quick silly points maybe about how Cambridge changed me was definitely my accent. So I'm obviously from Newcastle. I used to have a really strong Geordie accent, I'd say, or like northern accent, if any of you know what that sounds like if you're from the UK. And when I went to Cambridge, I definitely like diluted that accent or got rid of it or changed it a bit. Obviously this wasn't conscious, but when you're around people all the time that are from different backgrounds, and I was hearing a lot of southern accents, to be honest, like south of the UK, so it did mean that I started to talk a little bit posher and I'd enunciate more, speak clearly, pronounce my words properly. I'd stop like clipping the endings of my words. So yeah, when I came home from university for the first time, I remember my family being like, what's happened to your accent? And all of my friends were like, you sound so posh, like what has happened? And it wasn't because I was changing it to try and fit in by any means. I would have loved to have clung onto my accent. I love my accent and I'm proud of where I'm from, but it just so happened that because I was around these different people, I was picking up their slang, their dialect, their accents too. And obviously doing an English degree, I had to learn to speak more clearly, to speak eloquently, articulate myself well without stumbling over my words and using slang and mispronouncing things. So I definitely think my degree was a big factor in it as well, because I was trying to enunciate well and come across well. And I think when you're doing an essay writing sort of subject, you do learn that you need to think before you speak, structure what you speak clearly to get your argument across and make quite a strong argument, especially when you're speaking with your peers who are quite well spoken as well. I'd say not just my accent changed, but my dress sense as well. I definitely think I started to dress better. I think this maybe was linked to the confidence thing as well, because in school I didn't have the confidence to wear everything I would have liked to. I didn't really like wearing bright colours because I didn't want to stand out. I didn't like wearing daring patterns in case people looked at me funny and thought, what is she wearing? And I think going to university, you realise everybody just sort of does whatever the hell they want. So why not me too? Like, nobody's looking at that person and judging them. I'm not judging anybody else. So chances are no one's going to judge me for expressing myself and doing what I love and wearing what I love. So that was definitely something I learned when I went to university, and I think I'm so grateful for having the chance to finally embrace what I love and trying new things again. It's about pushing yourself to try things you maybe wouldn't have tried before and push yourself out of your comfort zone. And that definitely meant that I changed the way I dressed. I started wearing new things, maybe ditched my skinny jeans and my baggy tops and t-shirts and hoodies for more fitted clothing. I started to dress maybe more like an adult or a young woman as well. Maybe that's partly to do with growing up too. But I definitely started to change my taste in that sense as well. And finally, I definitely say Cambridge made me more open-minded. So obviously, when you're coming to university, there's a whole mix of different people from different backgrounds. You have different political views, different social and economic backgrounds. You're from different countries, different cultures, different religions. Even, for example, I didn't know many people from like down south or London because I'm from Newcastle up north. So for me, this was like the first real time I was meeting friends from down south, and I'd never been to London before, and like learning what London was like was really cool for me. Like silly things like that you actually don't really think about before you go to university. People will have much different life experiences than you do. And I am so thankful for meeting these kinds of people, because without university, I never would have had the opportunity to meet friends like this. You know, my best friend is from Malaysia. I've never even been to Asia, and I'm planning on going there now after university. I have friends from Cornwall and Brighton and London, and one of my friends speaks Danish and has a Danish background. Like there are just so many different people in one place, and it's really great to learn about all of these different things. So that's everything, I think. I hope I haven't missed anything. It was just sort of a quick rambly video off the top of my head, how I think Cambridge has changed me. Maybe more will come to me afterwards. Feel free to ask me questions about my experience in the comments, and I can elaborate a bit more. And let me know if you'd like to know more about my Cambridge experience in the comments below, and I can make more videos like this. But for now, bye guys!